We are back reading the rest of Hank Zipzer. I've only read a couple chapters on this, so I'd like to give a little recap. We have our main characters. We have Hank Zipzer, of course. Then we have Frankie, which is one of his best friends, Hank's best friends. Frankie is kind of the planner. He makes things happen. Ashley is another best friend. She is the positive one, always uplifting, always upbeat. Miss Adolph is their teacher, their fourth grade teacher. Nick the Tick McKelty is the bully. And the gist of the story so far is that Hank, he's not a super good student. And he doesn't really try very hard, but he is worried that he's going to have to go back to fourth grade next year. He's going to have to repeat the fourth grade. So he needs to look in Miss Adolph's roll book to see if he is failing or not. So they launched this plan of how they're going to do that. They got to look at this roll book. So where we left off is chapter 4, Hank Zipzer. And here's what it says right there. Hank Zipzer, D, 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 all the way across the roll book. It was like the roll book was yelling out to me, Hank, open me, come on, it's easy, just lift the cover. The roll book's talking. I reached my hand out toward its dark blue cover. This was making me plenty nervous. I knew if Miss Adolph ever caught me, it would be curtains for me. Over. I could feel sweat forming on all parts of my body, the back of my neck, my forehead, and I don't mean to gross you out, but even in the little wrinkles behind my knees. It was really quite quiet in the classroom. The only sound was the big hand on the clock clicking to the next minute. I took a step forward. The rest of my life was just inside that book. I took a deep breath and reached out. Will you hurry up already? Ashley said in a loud whisper. If you're going to do it, you got to do it. Her voice scared me so much that I almost jumped out of my sneakers, which wasn't easy to do because they were tied tight with a double knot. Ashley, I whispered back, you scared me. I'm just trying to help you. Miss Adolph could be back any minute. I reached out again, and no sooner had I touched the roll book when I heard footsteps in the hall just outside our classroom. The door swung open, but I was able to get my hands away just in time. All three of us stood there like statues, trying to look like we were about to do something wrong. It was Dr. Berger, the learning specialist at our school. Hi, Dr. B, I said, trying to make my voice all sound normal. I know her pretty well because I work with her twice a week in her office. Is everything okay, Hank? Dr. Berger asked. You sound a little funny. I wished I could tell her what was really going on, that I was afraid I was going to have to repeat the fourth grade, but when I opened my mouth, all that came out was, everything's fine. It's terrific, really. She didn't look totally convinced, but she's so nice that she wouldn't accuse you of anything unless she knows for sure. Not like Miss Adolph, who accuses you even when you're just thinking about doing something wrong. I was coming by to remind you that we changed our meeting times this week because of parent-teacher conferences, she said to me. Oh, thanks so much, Dr. B, I said. I'm a huge fan of reminders. She looked around the room, suddenly aware that there was no teacher in there. Are you kids on your way out to recess, she asked. Oh, yes, I answered. I'm a big fan of recess, too. Me too, Frankie said. We can't get enough recess. Isn't that right, guys? Ashley and I nodded our heads off like crazy. Dr. Berger looked at us for what seemed like too long. In the silence, we heard the clock tick. Oh my, she said, looking at the clock. I'm late for a meeting with Principal Love. I don't want to leave you alone here, but Miss Adolph should be here any second. I just saw her on her way up from the playground. Great, I said. We're big fans of Miss Adolph, too. Dr. Berger gave me a funny look, nodded and left. I knew I had to act fast. Ashley, go out in the hall and stand watch, I said. If you see Miss Adolph coming, your job is to get her into a conversation so she doesn't come in here, Frankie said. About what? Ashley asked. About anything, the weather, her gray clothes. Ask her if her underwear is gray too, I don't know. I am not asking her that. Ash, will you just get out there right now, I said. You'll come up with something. Go! Ashley went out in the hall and closed the door. There you go, big guy, Frankie said, pointing to the roll book on the desk. It's all yours. Hit it. I was just about to grab it when the hall door flew open. It scared me so much that I dove underneath the desk, except for I forgot that there's no opening on that side. and I flew right into the big panel of wood that stops us from seeing Miss Adolph's knees when she's sitting at her desk. Hank, what are you doing down there? It was Ashley at the door. Ashwina, the rule number 1 about standing guard is to keep your post, Frankie whispered. But I had an idea, Ashley said. When I see Miss Adolph coming down the hall, I'm going to knock 3 times. That'll be the signal. Knock 4 times. Knock yourself out. Just go back out there, Frankie said. I love that about Frankie. He can really take charge, and I really had a headache. Ashley went back out into the hall, and I stood at the desk staring at the roll book. My hands were shaking a little as I lifted the cover and flipped to the very first page. It was just the attendance records. Where were the grades? That's what I needed to get to. Could you hurry it up a little bit, Zip? Frankie said. But I'm a slow reader, I answered. You know that. I turned to the next page, and there they were. All 31 names in our class were listed. Mine was the last, of course, because it starts with a Z. I kept my word and tried not to look at anyone else's grades. I just let my eyes roll down to the bottom of the page where I knew my name would be, and there, next to my name, were all my grades for the year. There were so many D's in a row, it was hard to keep my eyes focused on following them all the way across the page. Wow, I was thinking, I must be the king of D-ville. What's it say, Zip? Frankie asked. Are they keeping you back? Shh, I'm still looking, I said. Looking is good, finding is better, Frankie said. Here, let me help you. No, I should be the only one doing this, I said, clutching the roll book right to my chest. I don't want you to get caught. Suddenly, we heard a crash in the hallway. It was followed by 3 clomps on the door. Is that a signal from Ashley? I asked Frankie. It didn't really sound like any knock I had heard before. Before Frankie could answer, there were 3 more clomps. Yep, that had to be the signal. I threw the roll book down on the desk and dashed for the door. Zip! Frankie called out. The book's open! Oh my gosh, it was. I turned and slid across the linoleum floor like a speed ice skater. As I slid by the desk, I reached out and flipped the book closed, pulled myself around the corner of the desk, and headed back toward the door, all in one move. Smooth. Wow. I should really think about entering the Olympics. But not right now, because I'm kind of busy. Frankie and I flew out into the hall. There was Ashley, lying on the ground in front of the door, blocking the entrance. She was holding her knee and rolling around like she was in pain. Miss Adolph was hunched over next to her. Do you think you could stand up now, Miss Wong? She asked. I don't know, Ashley said. I have this trick knee and I can never tell when it's going to go out. I've never seen it go out before, said Miss Adolph. That's what I'm telling you about my knee. It's a tricky one, Ashley said. Ashley looked over at us. I nodded at her without actually nodding my head for real. When you've been best friends with someone your whole life, you can nod without actually nodding, and they know that you're nodding. Ashley understood my signal. I think I can try standing now, she said, letting go of her knee. Let me help you up, dear, Miss Adolph said. She reached out and took hold of Ashley's wrist. She pulled her up and leaned her against her chest, sort of tucked her in under her armpit. I'm positive I saw Ashley's nose twitch as it faced the armpittal area. And to think Ashley was doing this all for me. I ask you, where are you going to find a friend like that? Thank you, Miss Adolph, Ashley said. See, my knee is much better now. Miss Adolph turned her attention to us. What are you 2 boys doing inside the classroom during recess, she said. Well, that's a good question, Miss Adolph, Frankie said. Which is why you're such a good teacher, because you ask such good questions, I added. Boys, I'm still waiting for the answer, Miss Adolph said. I noticed her foot start to tap like it does when she's waiting for me to answer how much 12 times 7 is. And that takes a little while to think about. I looked over at Frankie for some help, but I saw something I had never, ever seen before. Frankie was speechless, wordless, answerless. It was up to me to come up with that answer. Miss Adolph, I began, not knowing where my brain was going. We were in the classroom during recess because we believe that you can never be too early for earth science. That's a very unusual attitude for you, Henry, Miss Adolph said. She was definitely suspicious, and I knew I had to do some fast talking. I know it is, I said. The old Hank wasn't that much of an earth science fan, but this new Hank, right here, can't get enough of igneous rocks. As a matter of fact, I started a collection yesterday afternoon. I said a silent thank you to the people who make those National Geographic specials for television because I had just seen one on volcanoes and how the lava from them produces igneous rocks. Thank you. Miss Adolph raised one eyebrow at me. I must say, I'm surprised by your enthusiasm, but pleased. That was close. I looked over at Frankie and Ashley. Maybe I'm getting all the D's in school, but every once in a while, I have to give my brain an A+. Ordinarily, I might have taken time to enjoy the moment, but I had other things on my mind, like what I had seen inside the roll book. Chapter 5. It said redo. That's all. The roll book said redo next to my name. Now you know me. I'm no expert in vocabulary, but I know one thing or two. One thing I know is that when the letters R-E are in front of a word, I know what that means. Like take the word rewrite, which is what I always have to do on my compositions, my essays. It means to do it again, and this time use the dictionary when you do it. Redo, as in I'm not good enough. No way, Jose, do it over. When I saw the word redo next to my name, I knew it could only mean one thing. I was going to have to repeat the 4th grade. It was the worst moment of my life. I thought about all my friends going on to the 5th grade and me stuck in the same class with my smarty pants sister. It couldn't get any worse. I thought about how Nick McKelty was going to hold this over my head forever and ever and tell everybody that he's ever met that I wasn't smart enough to get out of 4th grade. I thought about the look on my dad's face when they tell him that his only son, well, if you don't count Cheerio the dog, is being left behind. Wow, redo. Isn't it amazing how 4 little words, 4 little letters, can make you feel so bad?